Good day everyone, I am Angel Ann Garcia from BSED Filipino 3101. So for today's video, I am going to discuss the following topic. So the assigned topic that I will discuss later is about multicultural and global literacy. Before we go to our discussion, this is the learning outcome of this topic. So number 1, discuss global and multicultural literacy. Number 2, illustrate the global competence framework. Number 3, explain the dimension of multiculturalism. Number 4, elucidate on the assessment strategy for global competence and global understanding. Number 5, present effective ways on how to integrate global culturalism in the lesson using appropriate delivery strategies, instructional materials, and assessment tools. Number 6, draw relevant life lessons and significant values from the personal experiences and demonstrating multicultural literacy. Number 7, analyze research abstract on global and multicultural literacy and its implication on the teaching-learning process. And lastly, draft relevant policy in addressing multiculturalism in school. These are the topics that will be discussed in this lesson. Number 1, multicultural literacy. Number 2, global literacy. Number 3, interconnecting multicultural and global literacy. Number 4, the OECO Global Competence Framework. And last, number 5, promoting global competence in school. Multicultural literacy. Multicultural literacy consists of skills, ability to identify the creators of knowledge and their interests. Banks, 1996. So, according to Banks 1966, multicultural literacy is about this is regard to the skills on how we were going to respect and understand others, on how we're going to respect their identity, their knowledge, and their interests. Also, on how we were going to take the different perspective of them. So, next, multicultural literacy then brings attention to the diversity, equity, and social justice to foster cultural awareness by addressing difficult issues like discrimination, oppression toward other ethnicity. Brew 2008. So, the main focus of multicultural literacy is giving knowledge and awareness on how we're going to solve or to address the difficult issues like discrimination and oppression. This will give us understanding on the other culture and how we're going to respect them well. Multicultural literacy is also involved in education. So now let's find out what is the role of multicultural literacy in education. Education for multicultural literacy should help students to develop the 21st century skills and attitudes that are needed to become active citizens who will work toward achieving social justice within communities. Because of the growing racial, language, and ethnic diversity in the country, multicultural literacy needs to be transformed in a substantial way to prepare students to function effectively in the 21st century, according to Brew 2008. So, in terms of education, the role of multicultural literacy is to students should develop the 21st century skills. So, what are the 21st century skills? The first one is learning skills. These are the skills that every student should learn. Number 1, critical thinking. Number 2, creativity. Number 3, collaboration. Number 4, communication. So, in terms of literacy skills, these are the skills that students should have. Number 1, information. Number 2, know the media. Number 3 is about technology. The next skills is about life skills. So, these are the skills that everyone should develop too. Number 1, flexibility. Number 2, leadership. Number 3, initiative. Number 4, productivity. And number 5, social skills. So, those skills will help every student to become active citizen that will work in achieving social justice in our community and even in our country. Also, the role of multicultural literacy in education is to give a deeper understanding on the others' interests, culture, and ability. This will serve those skills will serve as knowledge on how we were going to prevent social issues like discrimination and oppression. Those skills will help students to become more knowledgeable about the different perspective of other people. So now let's move forward to global literacy. Global literacy aims to address issues of globalization, racism, diversity, and social justice. It requires awareness and action consistent with a broad understanding of humanity, the planet, and the impact of human decision on both. It also aims to empower students with knowledge and take action to make a positive impact into the world and their local community. Go 2014. So just like multicultural literacy, the main goal of global literacy is to raise awareness on the different social issues, how we are going to address those social issue, and how we are going to understand other despite of having differences. With the help of global literacy, we are able to understand the perspective of other people. We can make decisions that will have a good benefit and have a positive impact for everyone. So as a student, we should start taking action about those social issues. If we are able to tell everyone that we are equal despite of having differences, it will create a positive impact that will help to change the world for a better. For better. According to Ontario Ministry of Education 2015, a global citizen should possess the following characteristic. Number 1, respect of humans regardless of race, gender, religion, or political perspective. So, from the word itself, respect. We should respect everyone despite of having differences. We should respect their own perspective. Number 2, respect of diversity and various perspectives. So, just like number 1, the word respect is very important. We should respect everyone for their own perspective. Number 3, promote sustainable pattern of living, consumption, and production. So this is very important. So the example of sustainable pattern of living is refuse of using plastic, saving energy, and many more. Number 4, appreciate the natural world and demonstrate respect on the rights of living things. So the word respect is also in the number 4. So we should start respecting everyone in this world. We should respect the rights, and everyone deserve to be respected. After we discuss the multicultural and global literacy, let's move forward to interconnecting multicultural and global literacy. Every classroom contains students of different races, religion, and cultural groups. Arrived students embrace diversity, behavior, cultural values, pattern and practices, and communication. Yet, they all share one commonality with their educational opportunity. So, we all know that in every classroom, there's a lot of differences in our student in terms of the race, culture, and religion. So, as a future educator, we should start raising awareness in our classroom. We should teach them on how they were going to respect each other despite of having differences. So, we should create a friendly environment in our classroom that everyone know how to respect the perspective of their other classmates. So, therefore, the knowledge that we obtain in multicultural literacy and global literacy should be implemented and applied in our classroom. In this slide, present the OECD Global Competence Framework. So this framework depicts the 4 dimensions of global competence encompassing the development of knowledge, value, attitude, skills that flow along parameter for attaining competence. So this framework has a different ways on how we were going to be a globally competent. So number 1, we should start on knowledge. We should have a knowledge on the issue locally, globally, and intercultural. So next, or followed by values, we should start understanding and appreciate the perspective and worldviews of others. So followed by attitude, we should engage in open, appropriate, and effective interaction across culture. Last, skill, we should take action for collective being and and sustainable development. So for us to remember the four dimension of global competence framework, this is the keyword we can use to easily remember it. So number one, in knowledge, we can use the phrase investigate the world. So we're going to examine the world to have a knowledge about the issue. So followed by values, we should recognize perspective. So in attitude, we can use the phrase communicate ideas. And last, skill. So about skill, we should take action on how we were going to be a globally competent. Also, the EOCD Global Competence Framework will serve as a tool for policymaker, leader, teacher, and for fostering global competent students worldwide. So, what is global competence? So, the desire to participate in interconnected, complex, and diversity society has become a pressing needed, recognizing the role of school in preparing the youth to participate in the world. The OECD's Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, developed a framework to explain foster and assessing student to global competence. So the main focus of global competence is on how we're going to enhance the skills, value, and behavior so that we can prepare a young people to the interconnected and rapidly changing world. So it's also about how we're going to engage ourselves as a citizen who can solve a problem in our workforce. So with the help of OECD framework, we are able to recognize and analyze the issue global and local. So also, we are able to understand, appreciate the different perspective of other people. So the next one is promoting global competence in school. School can encourage intercultural sensitivity and respect by allowing students to engage in experience the foster and appreciation for diverse people, language, and cultures. Bennett 1993, Sinor Cop, Norris, and Watanabe 2007. So as a future educator, we should teach our students to understand and appreciate the differences of other in terms of culture, language, and to their own perspective. So let them interact with them without any judgment. They must show respect and adapt to the differences they have. School are positioned to enhance student ability to understand their place in a community and the world, improve such ability to make judgment and take action. Harvey 1975 in PISA 2018. So we all know that the school play a crucial role in helping young people to develop their global competence. Youth is our hope, not only in our nation but also in our world. They will be the solid instrument when the time comes to compete with their skills and excellence in various fields. So it is important that school do not stop discovering things that will further strengthen the well-being of the students. So with those knowledge and skill they obtain in school, they can use them to make a right judgment and take action that will change the world. As presented on this slide, we will see the needs for global competence. So number one, to live harmoniously in multicultural community. So we should start promoting cultural awareness, respect differences to live peacefully. Number two, to thrive in a changing labor market. So we should start having a good communication and appropriate behavior while communicating with others to have a good employability. Number three, to use media platform effectively and responsibly. So we should start using media platforms to share knowledge to everyone, have a good interaction with them. We should respect everyone and help them to learn more using media. Number four, last, to support the sustainable development goals. So a global competence will be a big help to the next generation on how the next generation will solve. We're going to take action on our global issue. So for example, how the next generation take action will take action to protect our planet.
Okay, after Ma'am Angel discussed what global competence is, now we're down to our next topic, which is the dimension of global competence. Okay, now we're going to focus on the four dimension of global competence. The first dimension, examine issues of local, global, and cultural significance. The second dimension is to understand and appreciate the perspective and worldviews of others. And the third dimension, engage in open, appropriate, and effective interaction across cultures. And the last dimension, take action for collective well-being and sustainable development. Dimension 1. This dimension refers to a globally competent people's practices of effectively utilizing knowledge about the world and critical reasoning in forming their own opinion about global issues. Globally competent students can draw on hand and combine the disciplinary knowledge and thinking skills, take note, disciplinary knowledge and thinking skills learned in schools to ask questions, analyze data and proposition, explain phenomena, and develop a position concerning a local, global, or cultural issue. As we can see, most of the or all of the school's mission or vision is to produce a globally competent students. And one of our strategies to produce those kind of learners is to engage them on the global issues we're facing right now. And what are those global issues? Uh, the global warming, the climate change, and many more. So in this dimension, we're looking in a globally competent students who can use his learning came from his school and use it to examine the issues not just in global span but also in local and cultural issues. Okay. Dimension 2, understand and appreciate the perspective and worldviews of others. So from the title itself, I think you already have a hint of what we're going to talk about right now. And in this dimension highlights that globally competent people are willing and capable of considering other people perspective and behaviors from multiple viewpoints to examine their own assumption. This in turn implies a profound respect for and interest in others with their concept of their reality and emotion. Individuals with this competence also consider and appreciate the connection that enable them to bridge in difference and create a common ground. So it says that a globally competent people must understand and appreciate others' viewpoint, others' perspective about global, local, and cultural issues. And this is also a kind of respect that you put consideration on others' viewpoint, on others' opinion about those issues. And even you and others' viewpoint are different from each other, it will lead on the one one concrete viewpoints and yeah, it will create a common ground. Dimension 3, engage in open, appropriate, and effective interaction across cultures. This dimension describes what globally competent individuals can do when they interact with people from different cultures. They understand the cultural norms, interactive styles, and degrees of formality of intercultural contexts, and they can flexibly adapt their behavior and communication manner through respectful dialogue, even with marginalized groups. So after examining the global, local, and cultural issues, after considering others' viewpoint, you must engage, you must engage in different cultures para lubos natin maunawaan yung viewpoint kung bakit ba ganito, bakit ganyan sila mag-isip, bakit ganyan yung viewpoint niya. Dapat, ano tayo, dapat bukas tayo na makihalubilo sa ibang kultura at sa ganung paraan maaari natin maintindihan yung kanilang norms, yung kanilang mga communication style, at sa makita nun, magkakaroon tayo ng effective interaction at saka, ayun, mas lubos tayo magkakaunawaan kapag alam natin yung dahilan kung bakit ito ang viewpoint ng bawat isa. Dimension 4, the last dimension, take action for collective well-being and sustainable development. So this dimension focuses on young people's role as active and responsible members of society and refers to individuals' readiness to respond to a given local and global or intercultural issue or situation. It recognizes that young people have multiple realms of influence ranging from personal and local to digital and global. So after we examine those issues came from global, local, and cultural, after we recognize or appreciate others' viewpoints about it, after after we engage in others' culture, now we must take action. We must take action that produce a sustainable development. Di ba? Okay. As a youth, tayong mga pinoproduce ng mga paaralan na globally competitive student, dapat meron na tayong readiness to respond dun sa mga issues na yon. So, ano ba yung issues na yon? Katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, global warming, climate change. Ano ba yung maaari nating gawin? Ano pa yung maaari nating gawing hakbang bilang isang kabataan, bilang isang aktibo at responsableng miyembro ng ating lipunan? Ano ba yung kaya nating gawin para kahit papaano ay matanggal o kaya ay mabawasan o mapigilan yung nagaganap na issue. So, bakit tayo, bakit mga kabataan, bakit young people na sinasabi rito? Dahil tayo yung may kakayahan pagdating sa mga technology, tayo yung mga bago, lagi updated sa social media. At yung ating impluensya din sa social media, maaari natin gamitin yun para yung ating panawagan, yung ating hiniing, yung ating project na maglilid sa atin para makagawa ng isang sustainable development, maaari natin yung mapakalat hindi lamang sa ating lugar, kundi sa buong mundo. So, yun yung kapangyarihan ng natin bilang isang kabataan, bilang isang globally competitive student na active at responsableng miyembro ng lipunan. PISA 2018 Assessment of Global Competence contributes development while considering challenges and limitations. It has two components. The first component, a cognitive test exclusively focused on the construct of global understanding. And the second, a set of questionnaire items collecting self-reported information and students' awareness on global issue and cultures, skills, both cognitive and social, and attitude, as well as information from schools and teachers on activities that promote global competence. Curriculum for global competence, knowledge, skills, attitude, and values. Schools can provide opportunities for students to explore complex global issues that they encounter through social media or other media and their own experiences. The curriculum should focus on their four knowledge domains. So the first domain, culture and intercultural relations. Second, socioeconomic development and interdependence. Third, environmental sustainability. And fourth, global institutions, conflict, and human rights. So teaching these four domains should stress on differences in perspectives, questioning concepts and arguments. Students can acquire knowledge in this domain by reflecting on their own cultural identity and that of their peers by analyzing common stereotypes toward people in their community or by analyzing related cases of cultural conflict. And acquiring knowledge in this aspect is important in developing values such as peace, respect, non-discrimination, equality, fairness, acceptance, justice, non-violence, and tolerance. Skills to understand the world and to take action. Globally competence built on specific cognitive, communication, and socio-emotional skills. Effective education for global competence gives students the opportunity to mobilize and use their knowledge, attitude, skills, and values together while sharing ideas on global issues in and outside of school or interacting with people from different cultural backgrounds. So it's just that effective education for global competence allows students or maybe lead students, the globally competitive students, to use their skills and knowledge. Not just that, but also their attitude and behavior in sharing the in sharing their ideas or sharing their viewpoints about global issues in outside the school or in a community that they live. And a school community that desire to nurture global competence that should focus on clear, controllable, and realizable learning goals. This means engaging all educators to reflect on teaching topics that are globally significant. The type of skills foster deeper understanding of the world and facilitate respectful interaction in multicultural contexts, and the attitude and values that drive autonomous learning and inspire responsible action. So it's just that if a school wants to produce a globally competitive students, or if a school wants to produce a community of a globally competitive students, they must correct their learning goals, which uh, lead the educators to discuss topics that are globally significant. So, yung mga topic, mga pinag-aaralan yung globally significant o yung mahalaga, hindi lamang sa local, kundi dun sa pangkalahatan, sa buong mundo. At yun na nga, ito dapat ay clear, controllable, and realizable learning goals ang kanilang dapat sineset. At this type ng skills na mabubuo nila sa pag-facilitate ng ganitong context sa school, ay maaaring mag-lead sa mga students para ma-inspire na makagawa sila ng action sa mga issues na kanilang kinakaharap o pinagdaraanan. Knowledge about the world and other cultures. So, knowledge competence is supported by the knowledge of global issues that affect lives locally and around the globe, as well as intercultural knowledge or knowledge about the similarities, differences, and relation among cultures. And this knowledge helps people to challenge misinformation and stereotypes about other countries and people, and thus result in intolerance and oversimplified representation of the world. So this can be done through the following strategies. So according to OECD, or the Organization of Economic Collaboration and Development, they have two strategies. The first is perspective, and the second is adaptability. So yung perspective, it refers to the cognitive and social skills of understanding how other people think or feel. And the adaptability refers to the ability to adapt system thinking and behavior to prevailing cultural environment, or to situation and context that can present new demands or challenges. So it says that mahalaga rin na alam natin yung mahalaga rin na alam natin yung mga nangyayari sa ibang lugar, sa ibang bansa, hindi lamang doon sa pamayanan natin, hindi lamang doon sa bayan natin. Dapat alam natin yung nangyayari, yung paano ba nila kinakaharap yung issue na ito na kinakaharap din natin. Sa ganung paraan, makakaisip tayo ng ideas, makakaisip tayo ng mga paraan on how to solve those kind of issues. At doon din, maaring masira natin yung mga misinformation and stereotyping. So at syempre may isip natin kung ito ba ay nararapat sa ating bayan, o ito ba ay applicable din sa atin. So ayon nga sa OECD, ay dapat alam natin yung perspective ng ibang bayan, ng ibang lugar about sa issue. Ano ba yung nararamdaman nila? Ano ba yung iniisip nila? At syempre, dapat meron din tayong adaptability. Na-adapt natin yung kanilang thinking style, yung kanilang system, kung paano sila nag-iisip, yung kanilang behavior, kung paano nila ina-handle yung mga issues na yun. Sa ganung paraan, kahit pa paano siguro naman, masosolve natin yung mga issues locally. At yung mga issues locally na yun, kapag nagsama-sama yun, is napakalaki na rin ng magiging pagbabago o ng magiging development. Openness, respect for diversity, and global-mindedness. So, from the word itself, from the title itself, openness, respect for diversity, and global-mindedness. So, we're going to define it one by one later. And globally competent behavior requires an attitude of openness toward peoples from other cultural backgrounds, an attitude of global-mindedness. Okay, ulit. Globally competent behaviors requires an attitude of openness toward people from other cultural backgrounds, an attitude of global-mindedness. So doon pa lang sa sentence na yun, mapapansin natin yung connection ng openness, ng respect for diversity at ng global-mindedness sa isa't isa. Na sinasabi nga rito na ang globally competent ay dapat open o handa siyang makinig dun sa perspective ng ibang tao na mula sa ibang culture, mula sa ibang community na hindi mo naman kinalakihan. Yung openness mo is doon mo papakita yung respect mo and global-mindedness. So, such attitude can be fostered explicitly through participatory and learner-centered teaching as well as through a curriculum characterized by fair practices and accommodating the school climate for all students. So now, we're going to define the term one by one. So according to Brian, 2008 Council of Europe, he defined the openness that openness toward people from other cultural backgrounds involves sensitivity toward curiosity about willingness to engage with other people and others' perspective on the world. So doon pa lang, sinasabi pala dito ni Adam, sorry po, ni Brian, na yung openness toward people from other cultural backgrounds is yung handa kang makinig, yung handa kang ma-engage dun sa ibang tao sa kanilang perspective about the world. So yun yung openness, yung parang bukas yung tenga mo, bukas yung puso mo na pakinggan yung kanilang suggestion, pakinggan yung kanilang stand about those issues. So for respect, Council of Europe again defines that respect consists of a positive regard for someone based on judgment of intrinsic worth. It assumes the dignity of all human beings and their inalienable right to choose their own affiliation, belief, opinion, or practices. So, according to Council of Europe, respect is a positive regard for someone based on judgment of intrinsic worth. So, dito pa lang sinasabi ng respect ay dapat talaga na tinataglay ng lahat ng tao, kahit hindi na tungkol sa mga global issues, we must have respect on others, because that's human being, yung pagkakaroon ng respeto, yun yung nagpapakita na isang tao. So, yun ay according sa Council of Europe, na ang respect nga ay pagpapakita na isa kang nilalang, na isa kang tao na kahit iba yung paniniwala mo, na kahit iba yung opinion mo, na iba yung kinasanayan mo, ay irerespeto mo pa rin yung ibang tao kahit sila ay iba sa'yo. So, that's the definition of respect. And the last, the global-mindedness, according to Hansen 2010, global-mindedness is defined as a worldview in which one sees him or herself connected to the community and feels a sense of responsibility for its members. So, ayun nga kay Hansen 2010, ang global-mindedness ay yung view mo sa buong view mo sa buong mundo, o sa buong community, at nakikita mo yung sarili mo na connected dun sa community na yun at handa ka na i-take yung responsibility na nakikita mo na akala mo pa, at handa kang i-take yung responsibility na binibigay sa iyo ng mundo o ng community mo. And dito mo rin makikita yung responsibility dun sa mga kasama mo, dun sa community mo. Hindi lamang dun sa community para lamang sa mga hindi lamang para sa mga environment, kundi dun sa mga human beings na kasama mo dun sa community. So that's global mindedness. Valuing human dignity and diversity. Valuing human dignity and valuing cultural diversity contribute to global competence because they constitute critical filters through which individuals process information about other cultures and decide how to engage with others and the world. Hence, people who cultivate these values become more aware of themselves and their surroundings, and they're strongly motivated to fight against exclusion, ignorance, violence, oppression, and war. So, dito pa lang sa sinasabi na yung valuing human dignity and cultural diversity contributes to global competence. Why? Because they constitute critical filters through which individual process information about others' cultures. Ano? Hindi, hindi lang naman to para sa iyo, ano? Hindi lang naman to tungkol sa iyo. Ito ay yung pagbabalyo mo ng human dignity, hindi lang yung sarili mo yung ibavalue mo, kundi yung human dignity ng mga tao nakapaligid sa iyo. Lahat ng tao, despite the differences, despite the cultures they have, despite the viewpoints and perspective of others, if you value them, ito na yun. It contributes to global competence. At sinasabi rin dito na people who cultivate these values become more aware of their surroundings and they're strongly motivated to fight against exclusion, ignorance, violence, oppression, war. Hindi naman natin maaaring sabihin na pinapahalagahan ko yung human dignity ng mga kapatid ko, pero binabaliwala ko yung exclusion, binabaliwala ko yung ignorance, binabaliwala ko yung violence, oppression, and war. Ano, hindi naman maaari na ganun. At yun nga, sinasabi din na became more aware of themselves and their surroundings. Bakit? Kasi meron ka ng pakialam, meron ka ng stand na sila ay maproteksyonan, na sila ay na makamit nila o magamit nila yung kanilang rights and dignity. Ano? So, according to Clapham 2006, introduced the four aspects of valuing equality of all rights and dignity. First, the prohibition of all types of inhuman treatment, humiliation, or degradation by one person over another. So, doon pa lang, prohibition of all types of inhuman treatment. So, self-explanatory. Second, the assurance of the possibility for individual's choice and the conditions for each individual's self-fulfillment, autonomy, or self-realization. Third, the recognition that protection of group identity and culture may be essential for that of personal dignity. And for the last, the creation of necessary conditions to have the essential needs satisfied. So that's it. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I hope you are all good. I am Princess Erica S. Malabanan from BSL Filipino 3rd year, and I am here to discuss about global understanding. The first thing that we need to tackle is about the understanding. Let me first read this. Understanding is the ability to use knowledge to find meaning and connection between different perspective of information or perspective. So, in madaling salita po, understanding is about knowing our ability to know something, or for example, you are having a conversation with your friend and you understand what she or he was saying. So as a sign that you understand that the conversation, you are giving feedback to it. So the next thing to tackle is about the four interrelated cognitive processes that those globally competent students need to use to understand fully global and intercultural situations and issues according to OECD 2018. So these are the four cognitive process. First one is the capacity to evaluate. Second one is the capacity to analyze. Third one is the capacity to understand. And the last one is the capacity to to evaluate. So let's tackle it one by one. The first one is the capacity to evaluate information. So, for us to be able to evaluate information, we need to formulate arguments and explain a complex situation and problem by searching or using connecting evidences to its situation, and also to evaluate information we need to identify those biases and gaps for us to manage the conflict issues. The second one is the capacity to analyze. So those globally competent students need to have this capacity and able for them to analyze those different perspectives and views from the world. So in order to really analyze the certain information or situation, those students need to connect their own perspective or others' world perspective for them to analyze it correctly and clearly. The third cognitive process will be the capacity to understand. As a globally competent students, you need to know the differences in communication. We all know that communication is our only way to better understanding. So as a student, you need to recognize the importance of communication, especially, and adapting it to demands for you to have a diverse cultural context. The last cognitive process will be the capacity to evaluate actions and consequence by identifying and comparing different courses of action and weighing actions on the basis of consequence. So, to be a globally competent students, you need to have this capacity, the capacity to evaluate actions and know the difference of a certain action to another one. That if you become the globally competent students, you are able to perform different or wide variety of tasks that utilize different cognitive processes such as reasoning with existence about an issue of a situation. It may be local or global or intercultural differences. So, we need to always remember that four interrelated cognitive processes that a globally competent students must possess. So now we are going to tackle about integrating global and intercultural issues in the curriculum. So according to OECD 2018, for global education to translate abstraction into action, there is a need to integrate global issues and topics into existing subjects. So as a practice nga daw in this global education, the content of the topics that will be taught in school or other courses must be related to global competence for the students to easily understand the real life situation issues. Content knowledge, which is related to global competence in an integrated curriculum, was taught in specific courses. Therefore, a student can understand those issues at an early age, and it will be presenting them in developmentally appropriate ways. So, it simply means that you need to think of a way that the students will easily learn what you are saying about global education. The next one, so Gaudili 2006, affirmed that teachers must have their clear ideas on global and intercultural issues that students may reflect on. As a teacher, you need to topics and research topics and other learning materials, or carefully design the curriculum while giving the students multiple opportunities to learn those issues. So, syempre, as a teacher, you need to think of other references that will support what you are saying for them to relay and understand what you are discussing. Teachers may also engage in professional learning communities and facilitate peer learning. So the next one, textbooks and other instructional materials can also distort cultural and ethnic differences according to Gay 2015. So as as a teacher or as the teachers and the students must critic the books or the textbooks that are given to them and the other teaching resources for them to supply or add some information if it is necessary. Next approach will be pedagogies for promoting global competence. So, various student-centered pedagogies can help students develop critical thinking along global issues, respectful communication, conflict management skills, perspective taking, and adaptability. There are four dimensions for global competence, which was supported by four factors. It is knowledge, values, attitudes, and skills. For us to promote this global competence, we need to use the strategies in promoting it. We can use the global influency wherein we are going to study a particular language that we need to know. The next approach will be group-based cooperative project work e-curriculum. It involves topic or theme-based tasks suitable for various level and ages, in which goals and contents are negotiated and learners can create their own learning materials that they present and evaluate together. Learners participating in cooperative tasks soon would realize that to be efficient, they need to be respectful, attentive, honest, and empathic by Barry et al. 2014. In this part, learners must be cooperative in all the time because this participation or cooperation will result to be for them to create their own learning materials that they will present. Also in this part, respect, attentiveness, honesty, and empathic was very important for them to be efficient. Next will be the class discussion. It is an interactive approach that encourages proactive listening and responding to ideas expressed by peers. By exchanging views in the classroom, students learn that there is no single right answer to a problem, understand the reason why others hold different views, and reflect on the origins of their own beliefs, according to Richard et al. 2011. It is right that class discussion is an interactive approach because there will be an interaction between the teacher and the students in a classroom wherein they are sharing and exchanging their ideas to a topic. Next is the service learning. It is another tool that can help students develop multiple global skills through real world experience. This requires learners to participate in organized activities that are based on what has been learned in the classroom and that benefit their communities. In other terms, the service learning brought the student to the reality wherein they are going to apply what they have learned in a classroom. The story circle approach intends students to practice key intercultural skills, including respect, cultural self awareness, and empathy, while attitudes and values integration allocate teaching time to specific subject that deals with human rights issues, and non-discrimination is an important step in cultivating values for global competence. For a student to have this global competence, they need to practice key intercultural skills, including the respect, the self awareness, and the empathy. And also, they need to develop their attitudes and values integration. That is all for global understanding. I hope everyone learned, keep safe, and God bless us all.